Hello students, this video is for class 8 chapter 3rd, that is synthetic fibers and plastic. Basically this chapter comes under the category of chemistry and we'll be studying it under that only. So this is nothing but in continuation of the chapters that we have studied in 6th and 7th standard. In 6th standard we basically studied about the natural fibers. So for example, you might be remembering about, we studied about jute and cotton. Then in 7th standard we studied about the animal fibers. Basically we studied from about silk and wool, right? So continuing further, this year we have basically synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers, as by name you can understand, they are nothing but the artificial, or you can say man-made fibers, right? So starting on this chapter, basically we have to understand what is the definition of, or what is the meaning of fibers. They are nothing but a thin, long and a thread-like continuous strands, right? Which can be basically spun into cloth or paper, plastic, or whatever it might be, right? So basically as far as the internal structure is concerned of synthetic fibers, they are made up of a chemical substance which is called as polymer. So name itself suggests that poly means something which is repeated, or you can say many, and mer basically means part, right? So basically they are nothing like there is a singular unit is there, monomer, which combine together repeatedly and they form a long strand of polymer. And the process by how like the monomers combine together and form a long chain, that is called as polymerization. That is, many monomers will combine together and result in the formation of polymers. So the polymers basically, or that is the polymerization basically can be of two types. Either it can be linear or the cross-linked. So moving on, here you can see in the diagram that they have given. So linear basically means something which will be in a line-like structure. They will the monomers will be joined one after the other. And cross-linked basically means along with the row-wise, you can say they will be joined in column-wise also, as given in the diagram, right? So classification of fibers is concerned, basically fibers are of two type, that is natural, or you can say synthetic. Natural, we have seen the example cotton, silk, jute and wool. And as far as the synthetic fibers are concerned, this year we'll be studying about rayon, nylon, polyester and acrylic, right? Many more are there, right? So synthetic fibers are basically obtained from the petrochemicals, like the crude oil which is there. So by the leftover products, we are doing the chemical processes, or processing is basically done, and we are getting those fibers, right? So moving on, the types of synthetic fibers, first one we'll be studying is your rayon. So rayon, now the story starts is like it is a substitute to silk, right? Previously we can say rayon, silk was very costly. In current day also, like you can say the cost of silk is quite high. So this was made as a substitute of silk, right? You can say a cheap alternative for silk, right? And it is being made with the help of cellulose, or you can say the wood pulp. So it is not called as completely synthetic fiber, it is called as semi-synthetic fiber, because we are making it from the natural substances, right? And it has the properties which basically resemble, you can say, your silk, like it is very strong and absorbent. It doesn't it might be shrinkable, or it might stretch also, doesn't melt on heating. It is quite shiny in appearance, right? And the best use for this is like many of us will be having in our house will bed sheets that will be made up of your rayon, right? And carpets basically you can see in our house, right? And the gauze bandages, you can see the basically like once you get injured, right, after cotton, what we are putting is called as gauze bandage, you can say. Then next fiber comes is your nylon. So nylon has a very long story. It goes back to around 19 something like that only. So it was basically the first synthetic polymer that was being made. And in the initial days it was basically used for making stockings. You can say the European people's inners, like how we have our thermoware and all, right? But later on they realized it was quite you can say strong, and it was very light actually. So during the course, and after 10-15 years, they realized that it can be used for making parachutes, and it was heavily used for making parachutes during the World War II, right? And the properties, the name itself suggests like it is quite strong and elastic. Weight is very less, and it absorbs less water, so it is easy to wash actually, you can say. And many of the items in our household, right, day-to-day items that we won't be knowing are made up of nylon only. Basically the swimwear, right, we make are made up of nylon because it absorbs quite less water. Then the in making ropes, the classical use, then we can say in toothbrush, right? And for making saris and dress materials, you can say, which are of a much cheaper quality but quite rigid in their strength, right? The next comes basically your acrylic. So acrylic is something you have to remember, like it resembles your wool, right? As far as the rayon was there, it was your substitute, you can say, for silk. So acrylic is basically substitute for your wool, right? And its properties again are similar to wool. You can say it is quite light and light in weight and strong. It is soft and warm, right? And it doesn't wrinkle, or you can say, right? And also resistant to the action of various chemicals. And the best part of all these synthetic fibers is like that they can be dyed in multiple colors, right? So common you can use, you can say, as we are saying, it is a substitute for wool, is like it is making for used for making sweaters, blankets and track suits and all, like, and dentures, like the people who are having some configuration issue in their teeth, they go for the dentures, right? And bulletproof gloves also. And the other name which are quite famous for acrylic are basically your orlon and your acrylon. So last come the synthetic fiber, is second last fiber is yours polyester. So polyester, as the name itself suggests, instead of using the word monomer, they are being basically made up of you can see ester units, right? And the polyester use is like something, it can be mixed with wool and along with cotton for making polywool or polycotton, right? Which are again used for making clothes and all. So basically you have to understand it is something which is heavily used, like, and you can say the mostly used items, like for example, for making textiles, you can say cheaper clothes. And you can use it, it is heavily used in the countries where it is quite rainy, like for example in Sweden. In a book also it is mentioned, like in the rainy season, they doesn't absorb much of water, and they easily dry off, right? And the last fiber is basically your spandex. And spandex, you have to remember, for its elasticity, right? And it's not a polymer only, we say it is a copolymer. Basically it is having two monomer units. First is your polyester, and the other one is your polyurethane. And the common name with which it is known as lycra. So basically, because of its elasticity, is used for making leggings for girls. You can say you'd have seen that those peculiar clothes, though, that wrestlers or your PTI is really putting up. So right, basically you can say, or basically by the gymnast people they use, right? These clothes basically get attached to your skin very easily. So generally in speaking, as far as the advantages are concerned, like, they are very less expensive, right? First of all, that we have to understand, they are quite cheaper as compared to the of which we are using those as substitute, like might be your animal fiber or a plant fiber. So they are much cheaper, and they are more durable. Apart from that, they are easily washable, resistant to wrinkle and all, and apart from that, moth proof, right? But disadvantages is concerned is like they are highly inflammable. They doesn't burn rapidly, but they melt on hitting, so it can be severely causing injury to the person who are wearing it. And somehow if they get into any sort of accident or that, and the other part is like they cannot be worn during the month of heavy summer, because they get attached to your body and they doesn't absorb water or moisture, thereby making it quite uncomfortable, right? So next comes the topic, that is your plasticity. Plastics, and plastic, again you can say they are something like the word plastic itself basically is come from the word plastikos in the Greek word, that is which can be easily molded or shaped again and again. So it is the property of plastic by which virtue of which it can be changed by heating into any specific shape is called as plasticity, right? Basically they can be made by either by linear polymerization or by your cross polymerization, right? So depending upon the thermal treatment or their stand against the concept of temperature, they are classified into two categories. Either they can be thermoplastic or they can be thermostats, right? So thermoplastic are basically the one which when heated, right, they easily get molded or they easily melt easily. But as far as thermostats are concerned, they are highly durable to the effect of you can see the temperature. And linear polymerization is basically found in thermoplastic, that is easily breakable. And the cross polymerization is basically found in thermostats. Examples for thermoplastic are basically PVC, polythene, that is basically carry bag, used for making carry bags and all. And as far as the use of thermostats is like bakelite and melamine. Bakelite is something which is basically used for making your switches and switchboards and all. And melamine is something which is found in the utensils, handles that are found in your basically kitchen. So plastics properties are basically divided into four categories. That is their reactivity, light and durable, and the effects of flame, and the last is conductivity. So as far as reactivity is concerned, they are least reactive to the effect of water and air. So you can say they are less corrodable, get less corroding in nature, and can be used for storing chemicals. Light in weight, less expensive, so can be used heavily for in day-to-day items. So effects of flame is like they are highly inflammable, they burn easily. And conductivity wise, you can say they are very poor conductors. As far as thermal conductivity is concerned, so we can understand the concept of bakelite. That is why, thermal conductivity, you can say melamine, like effect of heat is less. That is in the utensils, it is being used for making handles and all. And as far as electrical conductivity is concerned, we can say the bakelite is there, which is used for making switchboards and all. Right. Then lastly, moving on to the impact of plastic on environment, you can say like. Being non-biodegradable in nature, they are extremely harmful to the environment, so they should be used less and all. And basically various actions are being taken by the government to control the level of plastic being generated in the level of our environment. So certain things are like, basically we can do on our level is like, firstly we can use that is limit the use of plastic bags and all. Then we can say, when we are disposing of the waste in a house, there should be a proper segregation between the biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. The concept of 3R should be used, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. And it would be quite astonishing for you people to know that in Sikkim, I think the use of plastic bags has been banned by the government, right? And nowadays in the malls and all, if you go, right, so they'll charge extra for you, they'll charge several bucks for basically for getting the carry bag, so just for promoting that the people are getting carry bag from their house. So that's it from this chapter.